I remember I saw a video a few months ago, and it was a video by Head, and she's relatively popular. She's like a leftist YouTuber, pretty much. And she made a video regarding the male loneliness epidemic, and it received a lot of good reviews, but also it received a lot of backlash. Some of the examples include, "This is really strong. They shouldn't cry." Or even, "This deserve everything they have because they're rapists, misogynists. Fuck the patriarchy. They should unalive themselves."
Yeah, when I first saw that whole video, I knew it was gonna trigger everyone, especially people that are typically radical feminists, Tate boys, all of those people. Lonely? Well, too bad. Shouldn't be treating women like that. These people are also the same people that never watched that video yet, and honestly, those type of people you should definitely avoid because they're that freaking close-minded. But yeah, those factors in general, typically societal factors, which sex get the most attention, technology, especially technology advancing to the point where AI girlfriends are becoming more of a thing now, and more than ever actually, it's starting to scare the crap out of me.
Are you looking for a girlfriend? Create your dream girl in just a few clicks.
And all of this is because of why Gen Z is the most loneliest generation so far. And I'm saying so far because Gen Alpha is going to be even worse. But hey, if you've been following me for a little bit, you might know the potential solution to this. I mean, I know it's complex, but one solution, one factor.
The reason why I decided to make this is because when Head said that one of the most valid criticisms she received while making that video was the fact that she didn't really offer solutions.
One of the most valid criticisms I got about this video was that I didn't offer any solutions. And honestly, that's because I don't have any.
Well, here is my solution. Make places more walkable. And also from now on, I'm gonna just call this the loneliness epidemic, not just male loneliness epidemic, because I believe that women do have feelings of loneliness too. And yes, media tends to portray it differently. Well, this isn't about the media for this video. This is about why people feel lonely in general. And one aspect of it, once again, car-dependency. The majority of America is car-dependent, unsurprisingly. When you look at all of the cities with a population of at least 200K, and that includes Canada as well, and maybe Australia, only 34% of these are at least somewhat walkable, or a car-free score of at least 50. Places that boast a combined walk, transit, and bike score below 50. It's just wild. In my perspective, walkable communities honestly give the true sense of community. I don't believe the bullcrap that suburban municipalities say it's a small sense of community. Well, do they all talk to each other is the thing. Do you only like each other in general because you guys look the same? And going back to the first question in a realistic sense, is your community walkable and inviting? With a lot of, or at least a good amount of third places around the area, because that's how you meet people. That's how you don't feel lonely. First off, I think the growth of what children become starts in childhood. If they don't socialize with their surroundings, with different people, they're more likely to have disdain or dislike of other people in general. It's honestly the same way you raise your dog. If you don't raise your dog with other dogs, they're gonna hate other dogs. And this is what Suburbia is doing. One of the key factors of being well socialized is going outside and touching some grass. Although some people don't really need to touch grass, my only concern is it possible for them to touch grass? And I'm not talking about the grass they touch on their lawn. I'm talking about actually going out and meeting people. Parents typically always complain about, oh, my children are not going outside anymore. And then outside looks like this.
In short, I don't really blame children that they're not going outside. I get it for one reason, maybe gaming's what you're into. I call myself a gamer too. But at the end of the day, even if they wanted to go outside, this is the environment they practically created. It's an environment for cars and cars only. And if you're a pedestrian, well, too bad. There aren't really any more safe spots for children to be outside anymore, except in their neighborhood at most. But if they want to leave, they can't go through a place like this. Besides, why would a child want to go out in this place to begin with, because hearing constant noises of cars constantly, it's irritating over time. You may not think about it at first, but overall it's pretty freaking irritating. And I don't blame them for playing Fortnite all day, because it's a lot more pleasant than being out here. Yeah, like parents say, how come kids don't go outside anymore? And this is the outside that they advocated for. Make it make sense.
Due to its isolative nature, that means that it will make us feel lonelier too. Before I get started in this section, I know that this may not always be a direct correlation. I know genetics may also be involved in like social hierarchy as well. And also the fact that preferences also play a part too. And honestly, this section is definitely not me saying that cities are better, because it's not true. Because, for example, like, I'm not saying that San Francisco is better than Montpelier, Vermont. What I am saying is that walkability decreases the risk of loneliness. More specifically, the feeling of loneliness. There's a difference between being alone and feeling alone. And then it can become problematic. It can become problematic in today's age. Other than the fact that it's bad for our air, the majority of people who live in a stereotypical American suburb more likely experience loneliness and depression. As a matter of fact, a journal from Science Advantage showed that dense areas do not carry the highest risk of depression, while sprawling residential areas have shown the highest risk of depression. And from my perspective, these places are literally built to isolate you from others. And notice how the countryside doesn't have as much feelings of loneliness. Well, in short, it's practically made that way, and it's pretty much useful. They actually have a use to use that big land. And not to mention like the long commutes of long cars that can barely fit like 4 people per vehicle. Most of the time it's only 1 per vehicle. But overall, Suburbia is bland. There's nothing special about these places, except for the individual's home. Especially when it comes to decorating their homes during the holidays, but that's about it when it comes to like significance. The countryside may be a lot dense in American suburbs, but once again, they actually have a purpose to use that freaking land. Suburbia makes you live close to your neighbors, but at the same time, make you live far from them. The reason why I titled this the loneliness epidemic and not exclusively the male loneliness epidemic is because I think all members of society are experiencing feelings of loneliness, and maybe for different reasons as well. I could go on the list of examples. Over-reliance on technology or social media, a worldwide pandemic that just happened recently, or just anything that makes you not talk to people in general. And both sexes suffer loneliness for particularly different reasons. Look at dating apps, for example. Although men have a huge disadvantage in dating apps, because they'll choose anything that has 2 legs, basically. While women are a lot pickier, and that makes sense because they're the ones that have to hold the baby for 9 months and take care of them for like the first 18 years or maybe their whole lives. And maybe that pickiness is contributing to a woman's loneliness because they feel like they can't find anything good enough for them, while men feel like they're not wanted. And yes, that's been a thing for as long as time has gone by, but dating apps take that to a whole new freaking scale that the human mind cannot comprehend. And with the rise of AI girlfriends, or like just AI in general, or yeah, people can even look at shit up on the tip of their fingers. It's crazier when people, especially men, get so desperate to the point where they give up and spend big bucks on Patreon's competitor. There's so many reasons why people feel lonely in today's society, and I feel like it's only gonna get worse as technology advances. But there's a way to make technology to advance while benefiting people. For example, our current city design is just very primitive, all of its own. It's like everyone owns their own fort, but at the same time, it makes everyone against each other in general. Like if you look at the entire United States, the majority of the US is single-family homes, 67% of them. And I'm well aware that despite Japan having one of the most walkable places on the planet, 40% of them have like feelings of loneliness. But look at America, it's 52, a 12% difference. And I think that this is a worldwide problem, but this is a bit exacerbated in America. And I feel like me growing up and like even on the edge of city limits, I still feel very lonely. Like I can't even imagine if I actually lived in an actual suburb like Montgomery. Like to be honest, I have to be super honest with myself here. I probably would become a school shooter if I lived in the far suburbs. Thank goodness that didn't happen. As I started becoming more independent and going to more like dense places, I didn't really feel as lonely, because it's a lot easier to connect with people, because you're not really forcing yourself to socialize, since you're already like doing a walking commute. Like at times you might have to socialize with others for assistance basically, and it's a lot easier to get assistance. Despite what I just said in my previous section, having a walk score of 50 is actually okay. Like, although most people will drive around that range, it's not that bad of an idea to walk to one place to another, as long as it's safe enough to walk outside, of course. Besides, also it shows that places like these have potential. Even if places dip below 50, as long as it doesn't go lower than 40, it just means making more developments. Even just a few can drastically change its walk score. The city of Chicago is one of the most walkable cities in the United States, pretty much all of North America. But even with its high walk score, there are portions of the city that are considered car dependent, especially when you go on to the northwest side, particularly if you go west of Harlem Avenue. This area is practically empty, with nothing by it. No third places around anywhere, it's just residential. And the closest commercial area can be like up to a 20-minute walk. But the reason why I chose this area here is that even if you add like a couple like third places here, it will instantly increase its walk score, even if it's just by a few. And this applies when you're like on Addison, Belmont, or especially Foster Avenue. Foster Avenue is practically a freaking desert. Upzone the place already. Like, I'm pretty sure you can upzone this area. It's a main street. Act like a main street. But on the other hand, I remember saying that these places like tend to be a bit inflexible in one of my past videos. Well, here's the thing though. I know you can't tear down these areas, but my other option is let people do whatever they want with their houses. Because at the end of the day, I understand people don't want their houses taken down just for like a multi-complex building to be up on their property where they once lived. But other than that, I say add more parking, but get rid of the ing. Like, look at St. Eugene Catholic Church, for example. Why is this parking lot so big? Like, I say that half the parking lot should be dedicated to a plaza or a park. Like, yes, I get it. Like, I understand every time there's mass, the parking lot is almost always full, if not more than full. But think about it. Most people live within walking distance around their own church to begin with. Like, I would say put a plaza or park there so people can, like, praise the Lord Jesus Christ, like my new favorite YouTuber, Gideon. It's a win-win, adults and children too, because kids can hang out where they will develop more memories with other people their age. The adults can chit-chat with other adults too. Like, locals here can make the argument that children already have access to recess already at school, but their recess is literally a freaking parking lot. Like, you added the park, alright? But you added way too much for the word. We need to half that word and add more plazas right next to your church. And as I stated earlier, I know that not everyone will want to live in a multi-purpose building, and I initially thought that single-family homes and combining them with commercial use didn't seem to fit, but look at this house on Oriole and Foster. I actually thought this was a single-family home until I realized this was a bar. I like this improvisation, honestly. And you know what, this would even make it more viable of adding more buses as well. But I say let people do what they want with their homes at the end of the day, even if it's just detached single-family homes. And yes, this may not be much right now, but the more progress there is, the more likely people want walkable areas and real third places like this again. Third places that anyone can access regardless of age, physical ability, etc. When the automobile became the main form of transportation, I believe that it made everything very corporate. There isn't any small businesses or family businesses around anymore, unless you go to like the one part of the city that's like downtown or just simply like a small walkable area. When I went to Montgomery, Illinois, which is one of the least walkable places, if not the least walkable place in the state of Illinois, it felt very corporate in such a rural area. And there were practically no small businesses there, but mainly chains inside strip malls. Like, maybe I spotted the wrong area, but then again, it didn't feel like it's a place for family businesses with big box stores, Walmarts, and corporate chains like McDonald's. Like, the barrier of entry there is super high that most of the time it's kind of bound to fail for a small business to be there. And we had neglected walkable areas for a while now, that even if it's walkable, we tend to find the fact that it's more crime ridden in comparison to the suburbs. So people have to make a sacrifice, whether do they want to put their business in a walkable area but have the risk of getting robbed, or not make as much money and go to the suburbs. Even the nicest neighborhoods tend to be segregated too. But instead of segregating people, they also segregate property. Like, this may sound like a hot take. Like, although mixed use zoning is the best form, Euclidean zoning is okay, but only if it keeps walkability in mind. But at the end of the day, we have to embed third places in our neighborhoods, or at least nearby our neighborhoods, so people will walk past it no matter what. Because I feel like we rely on modern day technology too much. Even I do at times, but it comes to the point where people rely on it for the stupidest reason. It doesn't help the fact that dating apps have come into play for a while now. People will try to get that dopamine rush with swiping right and hoping they find the one on there, but most of the time people are just looking for a one-night stand. And dating apps do have some of a benefit, because not everyone wants to go outside, which I understand. But another thing that ruins it is 18 plus content, like videos. Like, yes, this content has been existing for a while now, but it's become problematic where people have it on the palm of their hands at any time, whenever it's convenient, and most of all, it's free. It's kind of like people are starting to abuse their built-in cigarettes on a whole new level in order to get the max amount of dopamine they can. And what they're missing is real human touch. Like, they don't really care about human touch anymore. And speaking of which, sex dolls are becoming a thing now, which is very scary. Even with AI implemented into it, AI girlfriends, AI significant others, we're just losing sense of community via that, and car-dependency is not making it any better. Because we have gotten to a point where no one really wants to walk outside anymore. Going to school, work, or just running errands. Even if they want to walk outside, it's just not safe to do so because it feels intimidating with all these cars running around. I don't really go by my old schools anymore, because why would I? But I feel like not a lot of people walk home from school anymore. Like, most people get picked up from their parents. Like, I'm not against picking up your child from school, but it gets to a point where the majority of society feels like they are required to do so. And the most recent form of car dependency ruining communities is the fact that trunk or treating has become a thing. Yep, that's right. You gotta drive in order to trick or treat. That is so freaking stupid. Car dependency has ruined so many aspects, and this thing here, I've never even heard of until this year. It's basically trick-or-treating, but you actually have to drive to a certain spot to meet up with other people, instead of going around your neighborhood at your own home. Like, there's no social aspect to it. There's no neighborly connection like this. I know that when we're young, parents may supervise us at first, but this is where to replace trick-or-treating, this ruins sense of community, what it means to your neighborhood. Why go to a parking lot when you can have all the fun in your own neighborhood? And off topic, who in the right mind would lace candy with drugs, especially in this economy? Like, I understand the razor part, but that could be done with trunk-or-treating as well, honestly. But overall, loneliness today is caused by several complex issues. It's a very complex issue today. This includes the current technology we have, like social media, virtual places where you can talk to other people, like chat lobbies, video games, etc., dating apps, AI bots, whether it's on the computer or the one that you bought at a store. But let's not get rid of the fact, for the sake of this video at least, that cars are also a huge problem. Cars should be treated like advanced carriages. I agree, them being faster has revolutionized how we travel. But the overdependence of the automobile has gone freaking out of control. So let's take a moment and actually advocate for change for more walkable communities, even if it starts off at the bare minimum.